In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how I crochet along the edge of a shawl. Right here, this one's a little raw, so I want to crochet around with my border trim here at the bottom. So I'm going to start at the bottom right of the shawl, but before I begin, I want to make sure my crochet hook is similar in size to my knitting needle. You can use a gauger actually right on the hook to see if it's the same size as your knitting needle. Here it's actually one size smaller than my knitting needle because I'm a bit of a loose crocheter. At any rate, I've got my yarn. I'm going to start right here on the right side at the bottom right corner. So I'm looking here at the front of my piece and I'm starting on the bottom right corner. I'm going to hold the yarn in my left hand and insert my hook into the very last bound off stitch. It's a little hard to get in there, but there we go. Once you have your hook in there, you're going to wrap underneath the yarn and behind it. So you're coming behind the yarn and then over the top. And then grab that yarn on the hook and pull it through that loop at the beginning. There's your first stitch. Now, to work crochet along the edge, we're going to work into every other row. In this case, I'm going to be working into these eyelet stitches on the side. So I'm inserting my hook from front to back into the eyelet stitch, drawing up a new loop, then bringing the yarn over my hook and pulling that new yarn through the two loops. I have a loop on the hook. I go into my eyelet, wrap the yarn around the hook and pull it through, yarn around the hook again and pull through those two stitches to get back to one. So for each single crochet, you go into every other row, put the hook in, grab a loop to the front, then wrap another loop around and pull through those two for single crochet. So you're going to work that into every other row, into every eyelet along the side here for this section at the beginning of the shawl. Or if you're working another project, it would be into every other row. So every second hole you'd be going into. With this project, it's just easier to see those yarn overs, so I was able to do it into every yarn over. Now, once you've gotten to the end of that section, the pattern shifts here. Now we have garter stitch. So with garter stitch, every stripe is 2 rows. So I'm going to go just to the left of every little mountain range in garter stitch, every bump, and work my single crochets in that section. So I'm going just to the left of the ridge for each color because I've got those 2 row stripes. Or if you're working a solid color here, it would be 1 stitch for every garter ridge. So every 2 rows of garter makes a ridge. There you go. So here you also want to give a check and make sure that your fabric is not puckering or splaying out. That might mean you need a larger crochet hook or a smaller crochet hook depending. When you get to the center section, so I've done all my garter stitches up to the middle, I'm going to insert my hook right into that magic loop that I started the piece with, that triangular shawl cast on. I go right in there to make one of my stitches. And then I proceed with the normal garter stitch all the way to the other edge, where then I work my single crochets again into that lace eyelet hole along the side here. So all in all, I've gone into every other row, just the pattern has shifted, so it means I'm looking at different things. Here I'm going into the last stitch, working my final single crochet. I'm going to cut my yarn and fasten off, so here's cutting, and then to fasten off, you just pull that loop larger, larger, larger till the end pops out. Happy crocheting. Pops out. Happy crocheting.